What's going on, guys? Alex here, and back for another video. Now this one's going to be an interesting video. I recently came across a new lead source that I'm testing out now, and it's basically basically dealing directly with realtors, right? Specifically realtors that have rentals, all right? So rental agents. And you can find them on Zillow, Craigslist, so be it. Um, So I've made some calls, and I'm going to post some live calls with agents as well, explaining this idea. And this is specifically within wholesaling lease options, right? Receiving an assignment fee for the lease option, not staying in the middle, and how everyone can benefit from it. So I'm kind of going to give you the theory behind it, and then I'll probably post a call this week explaining it, how I explain it to the agent. But here's the theory. I mean, how everyone could get paid and how everybody gets what they want in the transaction. So assuming a seller has not been able to sell their home on the open market, a lot of times what the agent does or what the seller does, assuming the seller's not living in the home, assuming they don't need all their equity today to go buy another home, what they do is they rent out their property, right? They trust the agent. The agent is their expert, their professional. Little does the agent know that there's other options for the seller. So that's where I come in. So I see it for rent. I contact the agent, see if they're open to a lease option or some type of terms, and then we get on the phone. And here's how why it might make sense for an agent to hear out what I have to say and potentially do this type of transaction. First off, the agent, by renting the home for the seller, is going to receive at most, first month's rent. That's what they typically receive. Usually it ends up being half month's rent from the tenant or nothing at all. They're just doing that as a free service to the seller so that eventually they could put it back on the market with the seller, maybe during the spring, and then collect their 2.5% to 5% commission, right? Much later down the road. So what I'm going to propose to agents is I'm going to offer them first month's rent up front, right? And now this isn't coming from me, by the way. This is going to come from the buyer, which I'll explain. But what the agent will receive is some money up front, and then they'll have a predetermined commission on the back end when the home sells outright of 2.5%. That's just the going rate in my area. Most houses sell for around 5% because my price points are a lot higher than most other parts of the country. So the percentages are a little lower. Usually 5% is the average, sometimes 4%. But on average, an agent will receive 2.5% one side, right? They collect one side most times. So that's what's in it for the agent. And I'm going to give you an example down here, but you can see down here the agent's going to earn somewhere around $9,800 as a result of me putting this transaction together with them doing very little work. Okay? And I'll explain what work they'll do. The seller, why it would make sense for the seller, obviously they're going to receive full retail for it. They're going to receive full rental market value. The buyer is going to be responsible for the expenses and all the headaches that have to do with the property. So they're not a traditional landlord. The buyer's responsible. They have a buyer in there instead of a tenant, right? Which is huge, especially for a seller that's not really a landlord, doesn't want to be a landlord. They want to sell their house outright. This is a great option for them. So yeah, so not only do they receive full rental value, they receive full retail value. They'll have a cash out within 18 to 24 months. I just put a 2-year term in there. And they'll receive roughly about 2.5% down, because my buyer is going to come in with about 5% down most times on average. And so they can expect to receive 2.5% down, which is usually more than they'll receive had they collected first, last, and security. Okay. In this case, it's probably going to be the equivalent to maybe first and security. I'm sorry, it's going to be probably equivalent to first, last, and security. So it's going to be at minimum what they would collect in that, if not more. Okay. So that's why the seller would be interested. That's why the agent would be interested. Why I would be interested is because I'd collect 2.5% on average as my assignment fee. Because again, I'm splitting the upfront non-refundable option deposit from the buyer with the seller. So 50-50 split. And then of course, this is a buyer that wouldn't have any other option to get into a nice house. So the buyer's happy, the seller's happy, the agent's happy. Here's an example of what I mean. So let's take a $300,000 home, and let's assume that it could rent for $2,400 a month, right? Now, in other assumptions, the seller has to have equity, right? So it has to have some or a lot of equity, because they're going to end up paying their agent 2.5% on the back end. I don't care what the agent makes on the back end. I mean, whatever they can collect from their seller, good for them. Obviously, I make my money on the front end. So as long as they have to have some equity, of course, current on payments, So this is an example. Uh, so the profits, here are the profits. We're taking a $300,000 home, we're taking a $2,400 a month rental payment, that what the market will bring. And once I find the buyer, so basically I would go through my buyer systems, I post it online, just do the basic advertising that I do, and the agent is going to do the showings in this case. Usually I have the sellers do it, or I'll put a lockbox on there, but the agent's going to do the work as far as the showings and the screening. Well, actually, I'll do the screening. I just give them to the agent to do the showings, and the agent's going to collect first month's rent as a result. So they're going to collect $2,400 up front, right, with a predetermined commission on the back end. So 2.5% when and if the house sells, which we want to get them to the finish line. So the agent's most likely going to collect this, and then they'll be within a year or two from now. So they have $7,500 expected commission on the back end, right, with doing minimum work. And of course, when I have the buyer and assign it back to the seller, I'd collect $7,500 as my assignment fee. Okay. So basically, the only difference here is that I'm not keeping first month's rent. When I deal directly with the homeowner, then I do keep first month's rent, right? I basically not only collect 50% of the non-refundable option deposit from the buyer, but I also collect first month's rent in addition to that with certain verbiage, certain negotiation strategy, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But the only difference is that I'm giving that to the agent, right? I'm giving it to the agent because it was their listing. They have the relationship with the seller. We're working together as a team. Okay, side note, guys. I wanted to add in the benefits and the profits for the seller as well. So keep in mind, the seller's going to save 2.5% commission upfront, right? Because in most transactions, a seller's paying 5%, meaning the buyer agent's going to get 2.5%, and the seller agent's going to get 2.5%. Unless the seller agent is able to find the buyer on their own, then they usually keep the entire 5%. So from the seller's mind, they'll save 2.5% of their equity, which is big, right? That's one benefit. Another benefit is that they're going to receive monthly payments in the meantime. Keep in mind, when a realtor has a property on the market looking for a buyer, they don't pay the monthly payment, right? The realtor doesn't pay the seller a monthly payment. The seller has to keep up with the expenses and the mortgage and everything until the house sells, which could be months down the line. And if they've already had it on the market, they've already been paying it months down the line, right? So they probably don't want to keep paying it further. So this is a good way to really solve cash flow, right, and debt relief. They can receive monthly payments right away in the meantime, all right? Big benefit. Another benefit is debt pay down. As the payments are coming in each and every month, the mortgage pays down, assuming they have a mortgage. Or if they don't have a mortgage and they're receiving cash flow every month. So you add this on top of their net, right? So when the cash out happens 2 years down the line, let's assume they have a mortgage, the principal is going to pay down, and they're going to receive a much bigger cash out than had they sold today, right? You're always going to net more selling it over time than selling everything today. They're paying less fees and they're netting more. That's another benefit. Another benefit is it's a predetermined sale, right? They don't have to go through the process of showings, which a lot of sellers really, really get annoyed with. Numerous showings. They get annoyed with open houses, people walking through, all the traffic going through their home, right? It could be an annoying process. A lot of sellers simply don't want to work with an agent for that reason, right? So this is a good way to have not deal with those hassles when it comes to selling your house, right? So just another benefit to communicate with the agent who can communicate that with the seller, all right? So I just want to add that in there, okay? So this is a great lead source. I think that I know that no one else is hitting on. If somebody's doing it in my market, it's probably one person, two. I think no one's hitting this, right? Because no one talks to agents. I myself wasn't talking to agents for a while. It's just an idea that sprung up on how I can benefit the agent, the seller, and the buyer, and create a new transaction that wasn't there before, right? Which is a better solution for them than simply renting out their home to a tenant who might trash it, who's not going to take good care of it, who's not going to put up much money up front, right? And has no intentions of buying the house, right? And when the seller's intention is to sell the house. So it's a good option for the seller. It's a good option for the agent. I'm okay earning $7,500 for an assignment fee in this example here, $300,000 house. So yeah, let me know what you think of this idea. Let me know if someone's implemented this already, any results you get. I'm happy to hear on what you think about this strategy, this new lead source that I'm now implementing. And once again, I'm going to post a call this week on it, just basically talking to an agent. I'm going to obviously call more agents, and we'll see what happens with the strategy. This is going to be something that I do weekly now, so it's a new lead source that I'm implementing in addition to for rent by owners, in addition to expireds, and I've now started to call in addition to for sale by owners, and I'm now starting to call expireds as well. All right, so I'll probably do a video on expired calls as well. But I think this one's cool. This is a free way to generate more leads for yourself if you don't, if you're running out of for rent by owners or for sale by owner leads that are not costing you any money. This is another lead source that doesn't cost you any money. Just takes a little creativity and some good communication with the agent, and you could benefit everyone involved. Cool. All right, so yeah, that's all I had for you today. Subscribe to my channel. I mean, if this is helpful, keep in mind I do post live seller calls as well. So if you want to get access to those, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification, the bell. And once again, I thank you for watching. Look out for the next one, guys.